bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Yeah, man. Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. Today's Wednesday, May 3rd, 122 days into the new year. Just 243 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planets. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Happy Paranormal Day. Did you know there was one? This is National Paranormal Day. There you go. It's our day. Today. Paranormal Day. Now, did you know 45% of Americans believe in ghosts? 35% of Americans have seen a ghost. 19% don't believe at all. Right? So that adds up to 89%. Where's the other? No, wait a minute. 45, 35, that's 80, 19, that's 99. Okay, I get it. Close enough. 90% of Americans are scared of the paranormal. 15% of Americans like to watch ghost shows on television. 12% of Americans think the governments know more about aliens than it's letting on. And 4% of Americans think their house is haunted. Where does that leave us? Right? This show, the listeners right now. Those numbers, although 45%, I get that, 35% have seen a ghost, feels right. 19% of Americans say they don't believe. I think that number's high, but there you go. All right, I get it. 90% of Americans are scared of the paranormal. So you take that 35 and 45, that adds up to 80. So I guess that major chunk that believe in ghosts and have seen a ghost are scared of ghosts and the paranormal. Very interesting numbers. But 4% of Americans think that their house is haunted. I gotta go higher than that. I'm thinking, like 90%, right? Doesn't everybody think that their house is haunted? Your grandparents, 100% of the grandparents in this country, 100% will tell you they have a ghost in their house. 100, nobody's going to tell you that they don't. So I don't know where that 4% comes from. Either that or it's just, you lie in a poll. Oh, that would be new. But you lie in a paranormal poll, there's something wrong with that. Tonight on the show, finishing up our Amazing Women Week right here on Fade to Black, our guest is Tricia Eastman. And we're going to discuss biohacking and mind-body integration with DMT, Iboga, and ayahuasca, and other elements out there. Yes. Now, out of all of the shows that we've done, out of all of the requests that have come in, this show tonight has been number one. Everybody wants an ayahuasca show. I get a DMT request every single day. So does Rita. So, and we had to put the right thing together at the right time. So that's what's going to happen tonight with Tricia. Very excited about this. In our little bunker cam intro, I stated, and I'm honest about this, I'm interested in the subject for a lot of different reasons. We'll discuss all of those tonight with Tricia, but I am not condoning or advocating anything, but yet I'm curious. Does that make sense? All right. Look, I come from the music industry, and it seems like lifetimes ago now. But when you go through things like the 80s and the Sunset Strip in the 80s, and you live the life that I have, I'm cool. I'm cool with it. I am. But I need to be very careful in a show like this. So just listen to the advice, collect the knowledge, and move forward. How to do or any of this, it is such a weird part of the world. This stuff that goes on in Ecuador and Costa Rica and Peru and South and Central America and shamans and ooh man, it's crazy, right? It's crazy. So I'm curious. Am I going to jump on a plane to Costa Rica tomorrow? Maybe after this show. But again, I'm not condoning anything. Let's just have an open mind tonight. I'm very interested. And we've talked about it so much in the show with so many different researchers and authors about this. I've had many guests over at the house with Rita that have talked about it. And it just, it gets your mind going. So there's something to it. And I think science needs to jump in now and start to investigate. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Biohacking and mind-body integration with DMT and Iboga and ayahuasca. There you go. Our guest tonight is Tricia Eastman. Tomorrow night's another Fader night. Do follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Simple enough, at JChurchRadio. Facebook, YouTube, you know what to do. Go follow, like, and subscribe. You can participate in the conversation tonight. Hashtag F2B on Twitter. We don't bite. Okay, email throughout the show, Jimmy@JimmyChurchRadio.com. Got some breaking news here. Another unarmed intercontinental ballistic missile, an ICBM, has been launched from Vandenberg. That's the second Minuteman III launch in 7 days. Shot it back over 4,200 miles to a test range near the Marshall Islands. Basically the same thing that we did last week. What is going on here? Iran tested a missile today, or an attempted one, off of a mini sub, of which, it's a little tiny, reminds me of Gilligan's Island. I just said Gilligan's Island twice in 2 days. Remember the little mini submarine with the Japanese Navy dude on it? Classic episode of Gilligan's Island. Little mini sub, and they're trying to launch cruise missiles off of this thing. And North Korea has got a bunch of these little mini subs, too. When you hear North Korea's got, 100 submarines, 70 submarines. They don't have 70 of the Ohio class, right, nuclear subs. That's not what they have. They've got a ton of these mini subs, and most of them don't even run. So that's the story there. Little tiny little guys, and I don't know how you get a cruise missile on that thing, but the attempted launch failed today. So here we have Iran, North Korea, and the United States just flexing muscles. It's trippy. Absolutely trippy. Anyway, that just happened earlier today. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. We have over 650 archive shows, custom apps, Apple and Android, all platforms, just $2 a month. Go to the iTunes store, go to Apple Store, go to Google Store, search Fade to Black, download the app, go to Libsyn, $2 a month, blah, blah, blah. Done. Help support the show. All right, or you can become a member. Tomorrow night, we're going to do the drawing for the Studio Dome stereo system. We're going to do that drawing tomorrow night. And if you get in on the membership area tonight and sometime before tomorrow morning, we'll see it and your name will go in the hat. So become a member, go to the membership area, drawing live on camera tomorrow night for the world to see right here on Fade to Black. Do support the show through all of our sponsors. Life Change Tea, of course, is getthetea.com, River Moon Coffee, Studio Dome Speakers, all of the advertisers that advertise on this show throughout every broadcast. Go and visit their websites. The banners over at jimmychurchradio.com all have promo codes in there for you to use, and you're going to get yourself discounts and free shipping and all of that stuff. All right? Don't forget that this Saturday, May 6th, from 11 to 5 p.m., we will be at the Temple of Light in Irvine, California, down in Orange County. It's at 11 Goddard in Irvine, California. We're going to be down there for the Margot Mateus book signing. Her book has just been released, Freed by the Light. And if you get down there and you're a Fadernaut and you're really cool and you think you're cool enough, maybe you'll get to hang out at the after party. All right, there you go. Contact in the Desert's coming up. It's nearly here. I can't believe it. Today's the 3rd. It's coming up on the 19th, so we're officially 2 weeks away. Yeah, 2 weeks from tomorrow, we will be in Joshua Tree. It's going to go by like a blink of an eye. Everything that you need is over at radio.com, and click on the Contact in the Desert banner right there. Hotels, food, lodging, information, schedules, special events, everything is there. The schedule is there. It's up and posted. We've got 3 big events that we're doing that weekend. We are doing the Fade to Black live broadcast Friday. Saturday, I'm hosting a panel in the amphitheater at 7 p.m., the Forbidden Archaeology panel. Sunday night, I'm hosting the Disclosure panel, also at 7 p.m. in the amphitheater. And there you go. So it is the big event of the year. And as far as ufology goes and these subjects, this is the event. Go and get your tickets and come and hang out with us. We're going to have our booth at the top of the hill, front and center, right in front of the sanctuary at the crosswalk up at the very top and at the corner. So come up and find us and come and hang out. Somebody sent me an email today. Did I hear you say that River Moon Coffee is, yes, River Moon Coffee is going to be there with a booth. They will be serving River Moon Coffee. They're going to be serving Fade to Black Blend. And rumor has it, and they're probably listening right now. All right, rumor has it they've got some limited edition beverages, numbered. How cool is that? Come and hang out with us. All right, it's going to be great. And yes, we're going to have some special stuff there that we bring every year to Contact in the Desert. But you got to come out and hang out with us. Maybe you'll get yourself some. With that, we will be at the ECETI Ranch for their July 4th weekend conference. Also got email about that today, too, as well. Somebody said, hey, did you mention you were going to be Yes, we will be at ECETI for their July 4th weekend conference. Obviously, it's July 4th weekend. I think July 4th is on Tuesday this year. I think that's how it's being laid out. Maybe it's Monday, Tuesday. We'll be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'll be speaking twice, and I will be out under the stars with night vision with all of you for 2 or 3 straight nights in a row. I cannot wait. Bucket list, ECETI Ranch, and Fade to Black. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to the one, the only. I must have been driving everybody crazy today around here because I was listening to Frankie Valli. Yeah, man. Frankie Valli today is 83 years old. I was listening to, I went through it all. Big Girls Don't Cry, Sherry, Walk Like a Man, Ragdoll, My Eyes Adored You. I listened to 3 versions of that today. 2 of them were live. Oh, how about Grease? Remember that? But for me, it was December 1963. Oh, what a night. That's a cut right there. Did you know that Frankie Valli was in The Sopranos? Do you guys remember that? He was awesome in that. Happy birthday today, Frankie Valli. What was that movie called? Jersey Boys? Excellent movie. Excellent movie. I will recommend that to anybody, Jersey Boys. Happy birthday, Frankie. Today is 83 years old. Our dead guy's birthday today is James Brown. 1933 to 2006. Died at the age of 73. The godfather of soul. Yep, gained fame with that monstrous anthem, I Got You, I Feel Good. And Rolling Stone magazine ranked him 7th on their list of the 100 greatest artists of all time. His widow is an old friend of mine, and we had her on the show last year on his birthday, Tommy Ray Brown. Tommy Ray Heine Brown. I've known Tommy since we were kids. Did some studio stuff with them. I produced them, and I was their live sound guy for her band Hardly Dangerous back in the day. And she's really cool. She's a good friend, and I know that right now she's celebrating out there somewhere here in Hollywood. She lives in Las Vegas. Maybe she's there. But she is the mother of their son, James Joseph Brown II. So there you go. Tommy Ray, I know you're out there having a good time celebrating the birthday of James Brown. 1933 to 2006. On this day in history, OTD 1992. Check this story out. Some of you may remember this. I do. Now check this out. In 1992, Exxon executive Sidney Rezzo dies in a storage vault in New Jersey. 4 days earlier, now, that was on this day in 1992. But 4 days earlier, he was abducted from the driveway of his New Jersey home. Rezzo was shot in the arm, bound and gagged, and then placed in a wooden box that was hidden in a virtually airless storage locker. Despite his death, the kidnappers continued with their ransom plans. Now, the kidnappers' notably complex ransom notes demanding $18.5 million in used $100 bills were sometimes signed the Rainbow Warriors. Now, detectives were able to get DNA samples from both the ransom notes and the pay phones at Exxon gas stations where the kidnappers made their calls, leading them to Arthur and Irene Seal, who were arrested 6 weeks later on June 19th, 1992. He was a security guy for Exxon, got fired like 5 years before in 1987. Hated Exxon ever since. The two of them bought a couple of expensive resort places in the tropics and went broke. Had to move back home with mom and dad. I'm not making this up. And they got upset about it. So they turned around and kidnapped Sidney and left DNA traces. They were both caught. Well, anyway, Irene flipped on her husband, which is illegal in almost every court in the United States, right? A wife can't testify against her husband. And if she does, usually it gets thrown out of court. It's mistrial, right? Okay. Well, anyway, the feds find a jurisdiction in the United States, federal, that I didn't even know that this could happen, but they did. They found one where she could testify against her husband so it wouldn't get thrown out. I'm not kidding. So she testifies against her husband. He gets 95 without parole. He gets 95 straight years. She gets 20. There you go. Crazy on this day in 1992. Fate or fact? There are enough diamonds in existence right now, there are enough diamonds in the world to give every single person on the planet 1 cup full. Yeah. Mined diamonds. 7.5 million cupfuls. A measuring cup with a cup full of diamonds for every man, woman, and child on planet Earth. Now, what does that tell you? That's a fact. That is a fact. Which, seriously, pretty much makes them worthless, right? I mean, what? How are they rare? What is rare about that? What, you want to sell those to me for how much? I've got my own cup full I don't care about your... Think about that. What are we doing spending... it is a complete monopoly conspiracy to regulate and prop up diamond prices. It is never, ever, ever buy a diamond. Ever. Man. And I know women love diamonds. They're beautiful, but it's extortion. It's extortion. Think about that for a second. It's the same comparison. It's like saying, diamonds are rare because of marketing. There are more diamonds in Russia. You could literally cover the United States with diamonds. Half-inch thick, all the way across the country. You could swim in diamonds. Now, and this is the thing. If there is a cupful for every man, woman, and child on planet Earth, 7.5 billion cups of diamonds in existence right now, isn't that the same thing like saying there's a cup full of sand for every man, woman? There's a cup full of dirt. There's a cup full of what? Plastic bottles? What? Isn't that crazy? Doesn't that just mess with... It's like saying that there's a cup full of dirty motor oil for every man. It's the same statement. But yet, whatever. What, 10 grand for a couple of carrots? It's nuts. All right. Oh, man. I don't want to be harsh, but I am. SpaceX lifted off from Kennedy Space Center from Florida on Monday, and it boosted up a classified spy satellite to orbit for the U.S. military, and then turned around and touched down on that nearby launching pad, which is pretty cool. It was the 34th mission for SpaceX, but its first flight for the Department of Defense. And the customer, long pursued by Elon Musk, they needed to get to some of this defense contract money, right? Privately owned SpaceX once sued the Air Force over its exclusive launch services contract with United Launch Alliance, the ULA, right, with Lockheed Martin and Boeing. Well, Monday's liftoff of a classified satellite for the National Reconnaissance Office, the NRO, officially broke ULA's 10-year monopoly on launching U.S. military and national security satellites. The launch was delayed one day to resolve a problem with a first-stage engine sensor, but the NRO Launch Services integrator contractor Ball Aerospace arranged for the Falcon 9 flight on behalf of the NRO. In addition to the NRO's business, SpaceX has won 2 Air Force contracts to launch global positioning satellites in 2018 and 2019. For now, the military's business is a fraction of more than 70 missions worth more than $10 billion slated to fly on SpaceX rockets. But with up to 13 more military satellite launches open for competitive bidding in the next few years, and ULA's lucrative sole source contract due to end in 2019, SpaceX is angling to become a major launch service provider for the Department of Defense. At a request of the NRO, SpaceX cut off launch coverage 2 minutes and 48 seconds after liftoff, right? The live cam, right? The rocket cam. And that was some 30 seconds after the booster's first stage separated from the upper stage. At that time, the rocket's second stage had fired up to carry the spy satellite up into low Earth orbit. Now, the NRO declined to provide further details about the satellites or its orbit. SpaceX continued to broadcast the booster's return flight and touchdown at the company's nearby landing zone at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. But a month ago, SpaceX for the first time launched one of its previously flown rockets to send an SES communication satellites up into orbit, a key step in Musk's quest to demonstrate reusability and slash launch cost. Now, General John J. Raymond, head of the U.S. Space Command, told reporters at the Space Symposium earlier this month that the Air Force is open to buying rides on previously flown rockets. Nuts, right? SpaceX landed its first orbital rocket back in December 2015. Pretty impressive, and I love watching the videos. 4 of those touchdowns have occurred at a landing pad at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, and 6 return to a platform out floating in the ocean. We've all seen the videos, and I talk about it all the time on the show. The landings at sea are an option if the rocket doesn't have enough fuel to return all the way back to the launch site. But my point in reporting all of this to you is we are going now full on to the private sector for our space program. You know, NASA designing satellites, right? Mars landers and so forth. All right, they're still viable, I guess. We have telescopes now. We're getting ready to launch the new Webb telescope. We have Hubble up there now, but the Webb is going to be the biggest ever, and reportedly has the correct mirrors installed. I want to do a symbol, a rim shot right there. But it's the private sector now that is supporting our space program. And I'm confused about what is really going on here. Yeah, and what does the future bring? Think about that for a second. It's Elon Musk, Tesla, Virgin Galactic, we have Mars One and that program going on, that are all of these private concerns out there, but nothing public. I find it fascinating. And this is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Tricia Eastman is here. We're going to talk biohacking. Yes, we are going to talk DMT, Iboga, and ayahuasca. Get ready. It's the show that you asked for, and we're going to do all of that next. And you know what? We'll even take some phone calls, and I know that's coming. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. I'll be right back with Tricia Eastman. Stay with me.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. Let's wind the clocks back 60 years. Food was different. Food provided health and nutrition, and using supplements was minimal. Unfortunately, now we have chemicals, GMOs, herbicides, and pesticides that can be quite lethal in the name of our food supply and, of course, the ever-loving dollar. Supplementing our diets can be very important to stay healthy. Cleansing from daily intruders to the body might be critical. Live strong and take charge. Log on to getthetea.com. Our herbal tea is a great way to cleanse from intruders. Our supplements is a great way to maintain and improve your health. When your health is not up to par, go to getthetea.com. No GMOs, no fillers, and organic, and very helpful in keeping you at the top of your game. Life is too short to feel, you know what I mean. Stay in the game, at the top of your game with GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Again, GetTheT.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Klutsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fade or Nots rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, finishing up our Amazing Women Week right here on Fade to Black. Our guest tonight is Tricia Eastman, and we will discuss biohacking and mind-body integration with DMT, Iboga, ayahuasca. Yeah, man, this is the show that you have asked for. I'm very excited about tonight's conversation, so just sit down, relax, light up a heater, get your drink, get your blankie. It's going to be one of those conversations. Tomorrow night is another Fader Night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live. Call-in number is 323-825-5045, and we will open up the phone lines a little bit later. Tricia Eastman is a pioneer in the psychedelic renaissance with a mission to inspire others to become their own inner alchemists. Eastman's holistic approach incorporates Eastern philosophy, tantra, biohacking, soul retrieval, herbal medicine, mind-body integration, archetypal mapping. Did I just say that wrong? Meditation, somatic therapy, shamanism, and consulted with top destination spas and retreat centers for the best practices and treatments for the last 15 years. She has facilitated 300-plus 5-MeO DMT Toad ceremonies internationally and organizes international medicine retreats with Iboga and Peyote. Her website is psychedelicjourneys.com, and I would like to welcome for the first time, I'm nervous, Tricia Eastman. Tricia, how are you?
Hi. Wow, what an introduction.
Yeah,
thank you so much, Jimmy.
Archetypal, and I just couldn't get it out. I'm so excited about the show tonight. How are you doing?
Wow, I can feel the energy here. Like I said, it's like talking to God.
Well, yeah. Okay, you must build an ark. So, Tricia, this is not only has this been one of the most requested shows over the last 3, 4, 5 years, but certainly, and through other media outlets too as well, the conversations that are out there now about this are numerous. Not only through researchers, but science and academics are getting in on this now, too, as well. And we need to clarify about what is really going on. And you're the source for that. I know that you're going to guide us through this. But I'm excited. And for the audience, and I've had lots of friends and guests that not only have talked to me about this, but I've had a lot of questions. And that's going to continue tonight. And I want to thank you for coming on tonight and helping us through this. The audience has got the same questions that I do, and I'm sure that you hear almost every single day. Everybody wants to talk about this. It's such an exciting subject. Now, as we start our journey tonight, for you, I would like to just ask, what were your parents like? And where did you grow up? And were they open-minded? And today, do they know what you do?
That's an interesting question. So I grew up in a small farm town outside of Seattle, Washington. And I had a lot of really interesting experiences, so you would say. And because of that, I ended up being a little bit of an outsider. I ended up being bullied and kind of was a loner, which sounds kind of interesting in the sense that I'm so the opposite that now. And I'm so grateful for that experience because it put me on the path of developing the faculties that I have to be able to do the work that. So when I was younger, my parents were very strict Christian. They were so strict, they wouldn't let me watch the Smurfs because Gargamel
was
is a
evil.
wizard.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's evil. I could not have My Little Ponies because of unicorns. And I saw auras, and I saw a lot of other energies that were happening that I couldn't explain. And so I felt really alone in the world because, being teased, and also I had a lot of energy, and I was labeled ADD as a child, but I was never medicated for it. But I would, just have these crazy stories, and I would see, beings, and many of them I was actually afraid of. I spent a lot of time, being afraid of them. And later, as I grew up and learned to talk to these beings and interact with them, many of them were benevolent and wanted to help me. Some of them weren't necessarily the highest intentions, but I could usually tell. And I had, developed faculties to protect myself when I encountered ones that didn't have benevolent intentions for me. So as I got older, I kind of became a very rebellious child. I tried to get emancipated from my parents. And when I turned 18, I ended up getting a job working for a counterculture bookstore called Raver Books. I don't know if you know about the rave scene. Have you heard of raves?
Of course.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
I'm not that much of a goober now, Tricia. I want to say to everybody, Tricia was introduced to Rita and I. Now, I'm not going to say who, but out of respect, but somebody that is, pretty famous, a very smart person that we all admire and respect. And that introduction, when he turned to you and said, Jimmy, this is who you need to talk to. And I know you remember that, right? And
yes.
And I spun around, and so you started off on that kind of footing, because when you are introduced by this particular individual, that says a lot. And I want to thank him right now for this introduction. But for me, that trust is there, that you know exactly what is going on, and this discussion tonight is very serious.
Yes, and I'm so honored to have him speak that way about the work that I do and about me, and I feel like we met very synchronistically, and I don't even want to go too deep into that story. Do you want me to finish telling you a little bit about my childhood?
Absolutely. Well, the reason why I jumped in with that is because hearing about your childhood and what you went through, it's all a part of the journey, isn't it? And there are certain paths, you come up to in the road, and you need to go right or left. Well, you need to make those decisions, and obviously you made the right ones to get you to here today. And that's why discussing these events when you're young are so important, not only for me, for you and the audience. So, please continue.
Yeah, and so they say, actually, it's interesting you bring that up, between the ages of 1 and 7, when you basically, I don't know if you guys talk about reincarnation, but they say when you incarnate, that between that age period is when your faculties are the strongest. And so for me, because I was seeing all of these things, my parents they fought against me because it was all the things that they were against, being this very religious family. And so I remember one time I went into the church and they did this process to get what I would call, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term third eye, which would be like your faculties of intuition. So they went in and had the pastor of the church do this ritual to like close my third eye, because they were like, this girl's got to be demon possessed. She's seeing all these things. And, here I am, this like normal kid who's just, like really connected to the spirit world and, extraterrestrials. And so it was a little difficult growing up because I was a very straight, good kid and very loving, but no one really got me. And so I did definitely feel like an outsider. And it wasn't until I discovered the rave scene when I turned 18 and found these, people that were like more into aliens and had similar experiences, and I was starting to find my tribe. And that's when I worked for this counterculture bookstore that sold books about psychedelics. And just to backlog a little bit, my real father left when I was 4, and I was raised by my stepfather. And my real father was basically a drug addict. He got addicted to cocaine. He had like a series of different addictions that basically put him in a state where he wasn't even able to work. Wow. And so, for me, I was afraid of doing drugs because I was afraid I was going to break something, and be like my real dad. And my parents would even say things like that, like, if you ever do drugs, you're going to end up like your father,
right, right,
and so I was afraid of them. And then I started going to these raves, and people were just like more loving, and it just didn't seem to match the reflection of these pictures that had been painted that my parents had told me. And so, being someone who's already like sensitive, the psychedelics, like even cannabis, just like the smallest little hit of it, I would be in like a whole nother dimension. And it was really hard for me to handle because I didn't understand what was happening. So I didn't really have any attraction to like using a lot of psychedelics, but I did love MDMA. And so I would, go to the raves and do the MDMA, which doesn't have any psychedelic effects. And interestingly, started throwing parties and ended up being the psychedelic first aid person synchronistically at almost every party. So if someone took too much LSD or, took too much MDMA, I was the one kind of like, midwifing them through the experience. And so I feel like that was like my initiation into the shamanic path, which I kind of got away from into my 30s because I got a very high-powered job, became, successful, and, ended up really unhappy. And I had taken a little break from the MDMA and rediscovered it again. And was like, okay, well, I thought this stuff caused brain damage because I read different things about it. Now we're reading studies from MAPS that say that actually MDMA is great for healing trauma and PTSD, and it actually decreases the blood flow to the amygdala, which is the animal brain where trauma is, and increases blood flow to the frontal lobe of the brain where you have your higher level thinking. And so it actually does the reverse of what people say. It actually helps you to move through trauma and traumatic experiences, and there's been some really profound research being done on it. So I went back into it again because I was traumatized. I still had trauma from my childhood, from my overbearing parents. I still had, trauma from being a workaholic, and was really unhappy with my life and had developed some really bad anxiety. And part of it was because I was so sensitive that at my job I would travel between anywhere from 60 to 100,000 miles a year, and I would go into these different hotels, and of course I would be seeing spirits and have experiences, and that would affect my sleep. So I would just drink a bottle of wine and, I'd be like, if there was what you would call a ghost in my room, I'd just be like, well, you can't get me if I'm passed out,
Right.
So I started drinking a lot to just like turn off all my superpowers, I guess you could say. Like, I didn't want them. I was just like, this sucks. Like, I can't function in the world like a normal person. And then I started doing the MDMA again after becoming really unhappy. And the medicine came really strongly giving me these messages like, you need to leave everything, including your husband. I had been married for 6 years, or actually 4 years, but with my husband 2 years before that. So 6 years total. And I was just getting these strong messages. You need to find yourself. You need to follow your heart. And literally had this vision. I don't know if it was a dream or if I was up, where I saw an angel, and it was like, it's time to go. It's time for you to find yourself. And I literally left. Okay, so I used to invest in foreclosure properties. I owned 4 houses. I had a business, a retail business with 13 locations, my job, everything. And I literally walked away from all of it and went to Europe for 4 months, where I went on this complete eat, pray, love spiritual path. And I got some really profound messages, like had some really profound mystical experiences, and just got a really clear message that I needed to finalize my divorce with my husband. And he fought me. I ended up giving all of my material possessions to him, which I know you think is crazy, probably.
Got to do what you got to do. If that's... if it's part of your growth and you don't want, I give, the advice that I give people is, if you don't, nobody needs baggage. You don't need, negative crap hanging off of you. It may seem like material possessions, but, and you're always told that you want more, right? But honestly, it's holding you down. It holds you down. Yeah. It doesn't allow you to be free. So if you had to do it, fine, because look at you today. So you let it all go, you divorce, but, and we'll continue in a second, but there was one thing that you were constantly reminding us of through that little life's journey right there. And that is the other side, right? You were communicating, and that was exposing you to a parallel world, another dimension. There's something else going on out there besides the physical self and what the status quo was doing all day long. They ignore it, but you were seeing it, so you knew that there was something else out there, didn't you?
Yes, and I didn't want to be the crazy person for, really speaking out to it, and didn't really even have anyone that I knew that was having similar experiences that I was having. So it definitely felt like I was an alien myself. Right. I felt like an alien myself. And so through these travels and through spiritual study, I got a really clear message to move to Los Angeles. And that's when things really started to happen. So I moved to LA about 5 years ago, and that's when I started to get a deeper contact with aliens, as well as understanding the different types, as well as starting to work more deep with ceremonial style plant medicines. So I was introduced to ayahuasca about 5 years ago, and had a really incredible, profound awakening experience, but had in no way, shape, or form any desire to share medicines with people or, go on any path related to the medicines.
Well, now this is a good spot to maybe get a little bit technical so we can clearly define what we are talking about. Now, you write about I've read a lot of your stuff, and your writing is amazing. Don't ever stop doing that. It's really well done. But you are very explicit and very clear on definitions and what what these different. I want to use the word noun. All right, there's different nouns that people are using, and they probably are misusing what they are talking about, and they don't understand, and it's confusing to a lot of people. So let's actually start there. Ayahuasca. Okay. Let's start there. What is ayahuasca, and what has it? What's its history, I should say?
Okay. So ayahuasca is commonly used in South America and Peru, Brazil, as well as Colombia. And it is a sacred vine that is mixed with another plant that has an MAOI. And so when you think about MAOIs, they block the reuptake of serotonin. And the vine contains DMT. And DMT is basically the gateway to the spirit world. So when you're born and when you die, you release DMT. From studies, there's a lot of things that we don't know about DMT because DMT, they say, is made in the pineal gland, but now that they're doing more research, they even find it in the lungs, they find it in the spinal cord fluid, and many other parts of the body. And it also, number one, it's an endogenous, all over the body, but it's also produced by certain plants. And what happens when you take the DMT combined with the vine is that it creates a prolonged experience with the DMT. So it's this opportunity of expanded awareness, and it usually lasts somewhere between, depending on, how much medicine you take, of course, 8 to 14 hours, and it's very common. The medicine is administered in a ceremonial context, and within that ceremonial context, you have a shaman. And the shamans that work with ayahuasca are called curanderas, and a curandera is like a doctor. They spend, upwards of 10 years training in order to work with the medicine. And a big part of the work that they do isn't just working with ayahuasca. It's using the medicine of ayahuasca in combination with plant diets, which they call the dieta, and they collect wisdom from these different plants that helps them to educate and heal any form of disease, spiritual disease, parasites, viruses in the body.
And you've written about this too, the role of the shaman also is to make sure that you leave correctly, but also come back correctly, right?
Yes. So depending on the tradition of the medicine, there's different ceremonial containers. We'll speak specifically to ayahuasca. And with ayahuasca, there is different prayers and different spirits that hold a container so that no negative spirits can get in. Any that would basically, let's say, just want to harvest energy, like psychic energy from the people that are in the ceremony. Instead, really, holding a safe space, like a heart space within the ceremony. And there's different types of healing that's performed by the shaman. They also, or I should say the curandera, and they one of the things that they do commonly in the jungle is they work with a substance called rapé or hape, and it's a sacred tobacco snuff that is mixed with the ashes from the fires of past ceremonies. So the fires are sacred because it's the connection to the spirit world. And so the fires afterwards have that ceremonial blessing. And so this snuff is blown up the nose with a device called a pepe, or if you're doing it on yourself, you use a caripe. And when it's blown up each nostril individually for the purpose of clearing any energies out of the body. It's a purgative, using it as an amplifier of prayer, because tobacco is a sacrament, and so it actually is an amplifier of prayer. And also helping to prepare the person so that they're clear when they receive the ayahuasca, when they drink the ayahuasca. It has a really profound effect. You can actually feel it traveling through the brain and balancing the left and right hemisphere of the brain. So as you're feeling it going up the left nostril, you can feel that part of your brain being stimulated, and vice versa, and feel a complete balancing effect. And in the jungle, they use it for hunting as well, because it really helps to sharpen the senses.
Now, we're going to be heading towards a break here in 2 minutes, so I'm just going to ask you a quick question, and when we come back, we'll move on to DMT and the different classifications there. Is there, because this is a ceremony, there are certain things that you just have to do this. You can't bypass it. But with this ayahuasca trend that is out there right now, right? It's like the thing to do. Are there groups of stupid Americans going down to these countries in South America just going to get high, and they don't care about the ceremony? They just want to go and try to chase down ayahuasca. And I'm sure that is not welcome in those communities.
I would say that there's two sides of the coin. There's curanderas that will represent, because these countries tend to have a lot less money than us, and there are people out there that want to make a quick dollar, and there's a lot of money in this work. And so there are people that don't have integrity. There are what I call, shamans that get access to the medicine that, and I shouldn't even call them facilitators, that haven't received the proper training, don't know how to open up the space properly, don't know how to close the space properly, and don't really understand the spirits that they're working with, or even have a real relationship with them. And so those are things to keep in mind. And so it is important to, ask certain questions to anyone, because it's all usually word of mouth, where, someone goes to an ayahuasca ceremony in the jungle and they're like, oh, wow, that was a really incredible center. I would love to, go and do it. And they tell their friend about it. And that's great if you receive a personal referral, but then when you're out there seeking it, you just never know what you're going to get. In the end, I really feel that the medicines are wise, and we attract the experiences that we need for our healing. So I don't think there's really a such thing as a bad experience. I think that when one gets too caught up in the seeking aspect, that one kind of invites a doorway that can create chaos in their life, let's say. Right. So I would say, like, when I found ayahuasca, I wasn't looking for it. It found me. And I literally kept seeing it popping up everywhere, and this was before it was even popular. Well, and I was like, wow, this plant is calling me.
I know. I have to jump in. We have to do a break right here. Our guest tonight, this is the final of our Amazing Women Week right here on Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Tricia Eastman, and that's what we're talking about tonight, biohacking. Now, always remember, Tricia is a first-time guest, and it's just like her and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. Where we start, where we end, but we're going to end as friends. My guest tonight, Tricia Eastman. More with Tricia right after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. And you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hard shell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll-free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Tricia Eastman. Now, we're talking biohacking, and it is something that's being spoken about. Trendy is the wrong word, but it has caught on in popular culture. People are talking about it so much today, and we're starting to clear up some definitions of exactly what some of these natural things are that people are using to discover themselves and other dimensions that are out there, and making that communication. And Tricia, welcome back. And we just went through ayahuasca, so I guess we can clearly define it in a simple way as 2 different natural components that combine in your stomach, and they react with each other, and that's how that happens. And that is traditionally done in Central and South America: shaman, jungle, guidance, and ceremony. That's ayahuasca. Let's move on to DMT. Because you speak about a few different types of DMT, and first off, it is produced naturally in our bodies. I have heard that if you go through some type of an adrenaline rush, right? Maybe you get shot at with a gun, or you crash a car, or accidentally fall out of an airplane, whatever it may be. You go through that adrenaline, and there's a hallucination that happens, most likely caused by DMT that is naturally produced in your system, right?
So, yeah, it's interesting. What happens is if you get into a state, let's say the wind is knocked out of you,
right,
or you're doing some form of heavy breathing, which includes breath work, like holotropic breath work, or even things like Wim Hof breathing, you can naturally activate the DMT in your body. There is also specific forms of shamanic drumming and things such as flotation tank therapy that can cause you to naturally release the DMT in your body. It's completely endogenous to the body.
Now, DMT itself, when we speak about that here in the United States, you can illegally purchase it, obviously. But that form of DMT, what is that? And I guess most people smoke it, right?
Yeah, so there's two. I'll talk about the two most popular forms of DMT. There's many different forms of DMT, but they tend to fall into the two categories. One being the NN-DMT, which is the most common. Sometimes people will put it, it's like a powder that will be put on like marijuana and smoked. And that one creates an out-of-body experience, but it's not as deep of a dissolution, but it still produces visions. Like, for instance, Terrence McKenna talks about seeing machine elves and going to different dimensions.
Right.
And, you know, in my opinion, you see a lot more other beings when you work with the NN-DMT, and you interact with a lot more other beings, as where with the 5-MeO-DMT, it specifically has a structure that stimulates the 5-HT1A, 5-HT2A, which are the serotonin receptor sites, to where it creates this complete transcendental dissolving, where you literally feel like you do not even have a body. And in that experience, many people have less of a visual experience, but they get more of a transmission of knowing, and it's an expanded state of awareness. And so when one's ego dissolves, in Buddhism they talk about it as the non-dual state. When you step outside of yourself, all of your problems, all the walls that the ego created, tend to like lose their power, or you find new solutions to them. And sometimes it's an instantaneous healing where there's no effort, where you have to like process it in your mind. You just let it go, and it's no longer part of who you are. I've seen people, although it's rare, even just completely let go of addiction. A lot of people let go of trauma like PTSD or sexual trauma, things like that.
Heroin addiction, things like that too as well, just completely, wow. That's now with 5-MeO, DMT in general, but with 5-MeO, how long does this last? I've heard stories about it being 8 minutes or 10 minutes. Now, if you're sprinkling it on marijuana, and certainly with the pot that goes around today, right, that isn't an 8-minute high. But if it is, how long are these DMT sessions typically?
So, just to differentiate, the NN-DMT usually lasts anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes.
Right.
And the 5-MeO-DMT also lasts for 15 to 20 minutes. However, there's something a little different in that there's synthetic forms of 5-MeO-DMT, but then there's a specific form of 5-MeO-DMT that comes from the glands of a toad in the Sonoran Desert. And this toad, it basically hibernates 10 months out of the year. And inside its glands, which are located on the sides of its neck, there is this liquidy venom that is extracted from the toad without harming the toad when it comes up during the months of July and August, the rainy season in the Sonoran Desert. And when it's dried and smoked, it produces a little bit longer of an experience, and that's because it has other tryptamines, which would be like in the DMT family, like 8 other compounds in it that are not in the other forms of DMT, and those create a somatic, so body healing effect. So even after that 20-minute experience wears off, you're still feeling different forms of healing in the body. One of the compounds is bufotenine, and bufotenine works on the cytokines and interleukin system, so like working on the immune system. So for people that have arthritis or inflammation or who've had like some type of major injury, maybe a sports injury, can be incredibly healing for them.
Now, when you speak about a 20-minute, timetable, are you completely, are you back to your senses after that? I don't want to use the word sober, but I mean, do you come, like straight back down and you can just go, okay, all right, I'm okay, right? Is that? Am I phrasing that correctly? Am I asking the right question? When you say 20 minutes, 20 minutes, you're just back to normal.
Well, here's what I would say is this. There's a couple of things. Number one, they do call DMT the lunchtime shaman, meaning that you could literally take a lunch break and go do it and go back to work. Not that you would want to. And I don't want to cheapen any of the ceremonial process of sacred medicine.
Because it's profound.
Saying that to give you an it's profound.
Yes.
But I also will share with you that many people, if they have something that needs to come up, there's many ways it can come up. Like they might start laughing, they might scream, it's very rare, it's like a small percentage, they might throw up, but different forms of purging, and sometimes they can have emotional purging where they cry a lot. And so if you have some form of emotional processing or purging that occurs, then you might feel a little raw afterwards, in the sense of like how you would normally feel after you cried.
Now, are you fully remembering the 20 minutes? I mean, this is a profound experience. You are talking about a life-altering consciousness type of thing, looking into your own soul and exploring an out-of-body experience and possibly a parallel world that Terence McKenna talked about so much. Do you remember everything?
So it really depends on the dosage and how well the facilitator understands how to dose the person by asking the right questions. So if a person has too high of a dosage, they have a circumstance which is called whiting out, where they don't remember a lot of the experience. That's pretty rare. Some people remember the whole entire thing. Some people remember pieces of it. And because it's something that's bigger than our teeny little minds, like think of it like the consciousness that you're connecting with is like the difference between a little like chicken and human intelligence, and even bigger than that. So it's bigger than your mind can really, try to articulate. And so the more that you try to like break it up and understand it, sometimes it even could like cheapen how powerful of an experience. It's kind of like you can hold that feeling and just hold it for what it is.
Who made the discovery about the toads out in the Sonoran Desert? Is this something that goes back through, civilizations, or is this a modern discovery? And now you're talking about this going down 2 months out of the year. Are there now people out in the Sonoran Desert chasing down these toads, trying to extract DMT off of their necks?
Well,
you know exactly what I'm asking too. You know exactly what I'm
Yes. I want to, it's these, there's so much to talk about here. So first of all, there is, I'm totally forgetting the name of the doctor, and I want to say it's like Dr. Albert Gross, or I know I'm getting the name wrong. And he actually discovered in the 1970s these toads. And many people have found different research, one of them being Dr. Octavio Redding, who is a toad shaman. And he wrote a book called The Toad of Dawn, and talks about these artifacts that were found in like Aztec Mayan temples that even show statues of the toads with like a spiral of life where the glands are, like this is the gateway, like this is the portal, and different types of ceramic devices that look like they could be used for smoking DMT. However, it was lost, just like there was a lot of information that was lost. And I feel like this toad came back to basically give us that remembering that we lost, you know, going through the ages of darkness. And it's interesting how it was rediscovered in the 1970s, which is the beginning of the first psychedelic revolution.
Right. Okay, now let's move on. We're just doing definitions right now. Iboga. Now, your latest article, which where was that posted? Was it on
Rebel Society?
It was on Rebel Society, right? Great article on Iboga, and which is something that most people. I'm looking at Twitter right now. Oh, are you on Twitter?
You know what? I am on Instagram. I am on Facebook, and you can actually follow me on Facebook, and I actually post a lot of really interesting stuff if you just look up my name.
Okay. Everybody's asking.
I post everything.
Yeah, everybody's asking for your Twitter handle. So just go to click on the website over at jimmychurchradio.com. It'll take you to Psychedelic Journeys, and there are some other links there too as well. But there are people out there right now that wanting to get a hold of you after the show. So there you go. Facebook is the best way. Iboga. Most haven't heard about this. I don't want to use the word drug, but you know, maybe we should. It doesn't matter. But what is Iboga?
So I just want to say, out of all of the entheogens that I have ever worked with, the toad is like the crown and the iboga is the root, and they connect all of consciousness and all of, you know, the entire, you know, bubble of the galaxy together, all the information. I feel like when you work with both medicines, you kind of get a complete picture of the cosmology. And so the iboga, by the way, I just want to share, out of respect to the indigenous people that work with these medicines, that both iboga and toad are the rarest entheogens on the planet. And iboga right now is currently in a state of severe issues with sustainability. Although I will share with you also, I feel the planet makes what it needs to have as far as like what it would naturally produce. And I don't feel like iboga is for everybody. Like, I call iboga the avatar medicine because it truly helps you to break through all of the patterns that you have that are really deeply ingrained on a very intelligent level. It's got this intelligence that just goes far beyond anything that I've connected with. And then once you break through into the spirit world, it's much like remote viewing. You can travel all around the entire galaxy. You can travel around the world, talk to different people, if dead or alive. It's pretty incredible. And to speak to where it comes from, so it's the Bwiti are in Africa, in Gabon, and they have this sacred root that comes from a plant. And from what the medicine has told me, and even the Bwiti believe, that they were the first humans on the planet, and this was the first psychedelic. So it literally is like the entire Akashic record in this plant.
Wow. When we're going to come right back to Iboga. When you first had your first ceremony with ayahuasca, did you travel to Central or South America?
I didn't.
Oh.
I discovered it through some friends, and actually did it locally in a underground ceremony. And, you know, now that I have the knowledge that I do, I kind of wish I had done it in the jungle the first time, because it's so magical to work with the medicines in the jungle.
And what about with Iboga? Now, you're talking about Gabon. You're talking about Africa. Did you travel to Africa?
So the medicine, it has certain places that it's very happy. It likes the jungle, but it also loves Costa Rica. And so I've been to Costa Rica. I've done the medicine 4 times in Costa Rica, and I've done it in Mexico 1 time.
And you write about one of your ceremonies in this it was a rebel. What is it again? Rebel
Society.
Yeah, Rebel Society. I encourage everybody to go and read the article because you've remembered. Everything is there every step of the way. Very interesting phases that you have gone through. Again, ceremony. It's how do I felt like I was there, right? I felt like I went through it. But for you to describe it like that is very interesting. Now, was that in Costa Rica?
Yes, that was in Costa Rica.
It was. Take us through typically what happens, and I want to ask you this as you describe this to us. We have about 8 minutes here before the break. With DMT, some of the most of the descriptions that I have read and listened to and watched from people around the world, the experiences are similar, so much so that for me, I think that they are going to the same place. They are going to another reality or another dimension that is similar, and that is the journey that is happening. Is it the same thing with Iboga in that everybody that uses it and goes through the ceremony has the same experience?
Well, I would say that everyone has an experience that's individuated for them. The medicines, like they talk about with superfoods and Chinese herbs, adaptogens, and an adaptogen adapts to what you need. Psychedelics are the ultimate adaptogen. They literally know exactly what you need to see and go in, and they purify. They literally purify your entire system. So every experience is going to be unique to the individual, but there are some common things within the Iboga experience. Like many people, depending on the tradition too, because there's many, I've worked with the Misoko tradition of the Bwiti, but I've also worked with the Disumba tradition of the Bwiti. And the Disumba branch is a little more feminine, and so it's a little more mystical, as where the Misoko tradition is a little more masculine. And I feel when I'm working with the Misoko tradition, I spend a lot more time talking to my soul, talking to other spirits. And with the Disumba tradition, I feel it's a lot more feminine and a lot more heart-centered, a little bit more connected. Are you familiar with the term Kundalini energy?
Of course.
Yeah, I just don't like to I figured it's pretty standard.
Yeah, standard issue would be Kundalini on this show. Yeah, you're in good hands right now, Tricia. So I want you to comment really quick. In the article, I believe you said you wrote down some questions that you needed to have answered about yourself, right? Did you actually write them down?
Yes. So in the journey, you prepare questions, and in the Misoko tradition, the shaman, which is Anima, they will read the questions to you. And keep in mind that there are certain parts of your brain that are literally shut down for repairs. So you actually talking during the journey, it's kind of like a drunk person. You're a little slurred, but it's very helpful to have someone reading the questions for you, because you might forget something that's really important. So basically what happens is the shaman will read the question, and then you go in and you ask the question to your soul. So you go through this guided journey where you literally fly to your house, you go inside, you look around your home for where your soul hangs out. And, you know, I found mine laying in bed, and go in, I shake my soul, and literally I see my soul pop out of bed and just stare at me. And of course I'm like, what's going on here? You know, this is my soul staring at me. This is crazy that I'm like looking at myself. So the shaman's like, okay, so, you know, ask your soul if you can ask it some questions. And so I ask my soul, and it's like, yes. And so I start asking it questions, and everything, you know, all these like complex problems that I had in my life, it was like really simple answers, like connect to me, like take care of yourself, like connect to yourself more, and, you know, give yourself more time, just really simple stuff. And it felt like it was coming from my soul. And the most beautiful part of it was when I was finished talking to my soul, I said, you know, of course, thank you so much. And I gave myself a hug, and to feel literally the feeling of how much my soul loved me was the most incredible thing I could ever experience.
The science side of it, which we're going to discuss next when we come back after the break, the science side of it, science needs to get involved because of when we are talking about the many worlds theory or parallel universes, parallel worlds, quantum theory, quantum entanglement, that there are other things going on out there that we are not aware of. Is DMT and ayahuasca and Iboga, are they starting to prove to science that these other dimensions and these other worlds and communication with the universe is a reality?
Absolutely. So basically, there have been some really profound studies done. I think it was John Hopkins, but please don't quote me on that, where they documented mystical experiences with psilocybin mushrooms. And they even did blind studies where they would give one person a niacin pill, which creates a flushing effect and can create some tingling in the body, so that someone might think, oh, I'm taking a drug, but it doesn't have any psychoactive effects. And then they gave the other person psilocybin mushrooms. And the experiences that people were having were very common, related to, you know, visiting other dimensions, having memories of past lives, having connections with deities, having connections with extraterrestrials, all of these different things. And what's interesting also is my boyfriend is the CEO of a addiction treatment center in Mexico called Crossroads, which does Iboga, and he's a psychologist. And he just did a study that he presented a poster at the Psychedelic Sciences Conference in Oakland. And he took that study and did a survey of all of the patients that had come through and got it approved, and basically compared it to psilocybin mushrooms and found a higher rate of mystical experiences with 5-MeO-DMT as compared to the psilocybin. So there's even documentation that these mystical experiences are sometimes more common with different psychedelics. Of course, set and setting does make a difference.
Let's take a break right here, Tricia. Our guest tonight, Tricia Eastman. She has facilitated 300 5-MeO-DMT Toad ceremonies internationally. Tonight we are talking biohacking with Tricia. More Tricia Eastman right after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRAradio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis
mis amigos, yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
End time is not what you thought. In their new book, 122436, authors Mike and Cheryl Gilmore bring forth a startling new idea on the beginning of humankind, how life begins on Earth, and when our Creator concludes this age. In the book, 122436, three small groups of individuals, separated by thousands of miles, discover together the answers to the beginning of our universe and all the life it contains. Mike Gilmore is the author of 5 Levels of Power novels and the Sled Investigation series. Cheryl Gilmore is current state director in South Carolina for MUFON and brings a lifetime of experience with UFOs and related fields. As a team, their new book about life in the near future on Earth sets aside most people's religious and scientific beliefs. Available exclusively on Amazon in softback for $8.99 or the ebook price for only $2.99. Remember, Amazon softback $8.99, ebook only $2.99. 122436. Get your copy today.
Hey there, quick question for you. Would you be okay with more energy, more endurance, thicker, healthier hair, a better mood, reduced appearance of wrinkles, improved sleep, improved blood pressure and cholesterol profiles, improved vision, improved memory? Okay then. Well now, have you heard of Nature's Youth RSF? It's from the anti-aging experts at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. See, at Nature's Youth, they understand exactly what it means to provide top-quality health products. And Nature's Youth customers not only improve their health, they know they're also providing their body with the right nourishment to maintain that peak performance and fight the aging process. If health, wellness, and nutrition are what you desire, choose Nature's Youth RSF. I did. You see, you're going to get older. It's just up to you how you feel when you get there. Get started today. Nature's Youth RSF. Simple to use, simple to order. Go to nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Tricia Eastman. We're talking about, well, DMT, ayahuasca, Iboga, biohacking, you, and also something very interesting that Tricia has brought up now a few times in our conversation. I want to focus on this somewhat about communication with the galaxy or with the universe and with ET. I want to clarify this. Does this communication actually happen? And is it what is needed to communicate with ET back to Earth? And, of course, what are they saying?
So, thank you so much. I don't think it's necessary to take psychedelics, but it's very helpful because you cannot make it into these interdimensional realms if you have closed chakras. So your entire chakra system is your time travel device. And so when you are stuck in the third dimension, which is your ego, your solar plexus, the childhood trauma is stored in that area, and that prevents you from traveling. What the psychedelic medicines do is they create an opening in those spaces so one can move into the heart, so one can move into these other areas, which are our portals into this hologenetic reality that is the more expanded, you could call it the Akashic Record, you could call it, just the entire cosmos as far as all dimensions. And as far as the connection with the extraterrestrials, the most important thing to remember is that a lot of the wisdom that they have is really simple, and it's really easy to understand because every single thing in the universe carries the same algorithms, and these algorithms are within sacred geometry, and they're the same algorithms that we use for coding computers and the things that we see that create the patterns on turtle shells and, all of these things, like, for instance, pi, 3.14. So once we understand these codes and we understand this wave, which is actually, and understand these different waves of consciousness, we can really truly learn to listen and be a receiver of interdimensional communication, because a lot of it is very subtle. And so in order to be able to receive it, you have to really open up your ability to listen with all of your senses.
Is this dimension around us all the time and we're just not on the right frequency? It's there anyway?
I want to bring up because, I can't, it's so hard to summarize such complicated things that are simple at the same time.
Right.
But there is a really beautiful book that I found that really summarized it, and it's David R. Hawkins' Power versus Force. And he talks about a scale of consciousness. And if you look at the scale of consciousness, it completely aligns with the chakra system. And really what it's about is it's a scale from 1 to 1,000. And he uses a technique called applied kinesiology, which is, you test strong when something is at a certain vibration. So you can test where it's at. And within this, you can basically, when you're in a certain vibration, for instance, when you're in a 500 or higher, which is like the feelings of love, acceptance, courage, when you're in those vibrations, you're able to be a receiver of higher dimensional energies. When you're in the lower field, for instance, like the average person on the planet ranks at about a 240, so sometimes a little lower than that. If you were to muscle test, I actually muscle test Donald Trump right when he was about elected. He was about a 150. And so 150 is around the area of like anger and shame and pride. If you were looking at like emotions that were attached to it. So he doesn't really, he may be a very intelligent man, but based on his overall collective vibration, he's not going to have the ability to do the kind of travel that someone who is at a 500 is, which is the cross point. And if you look at like other scales of systems, like mystical traditions, they talk about this with the karmic scale of the scale of balance, like the 50%, love and balance and all those things. So if that makes sense.
It does. It truly does. And I have read so much where the experience and listen to with DMT, that the travel down, it's very geometric and the worlds are very similar for everybody, and the creatures and the beings that they encounter are all very, very similar, to the point where they're nearly exact. And it seems to me that they are actually going to another dimension and visiting that. Is that what is happening? You know what I mean? It's so precise.
Absolutely. And the way I see it is, when you, and this is why real biohacking is so important, you have all these energy receptors in your body besides your chakras. And in like the Chinese medicine, they call it, like the acupuncture points, or in Indian cosmology, I think they call it the nadis. And these points get dirtied up with all the toxins, the chemtrails, fluoridated water, which they've shown calcifies the pineal gland. So when you're traveling in these dimensions, think of it this way, like you have 20/20 vision, or maybe you don't have 20/20 vision in this dimension, but you have a good vision. But your pineal gland is your eyeball in these other dimensions, and many of us have really poor eyesight in our pineal gland. And so what we see are like these patchworks of these dimensions. Like we might see a shape come forward, but we still might be able to use our other faculties like a blind person would to be able to get information about the dimension that we're in.
Interesting. And what about microdosing? Because that's another term that I hear constantly right now. What is that exact? I mean, it makes sense, when you read the word microdosing. It's a small dose, but actually, what is it?
So microdosing is taking a sub-perceptual amount, usually about 1/10 of what a normal dose would be, of some form of psychedelic. LSD and psilocybin right now are the most talked about, but there are other things such as San Pedro that you can also microdose with, and each of them has a different effect. So for instance, LSD is really profound for mental focus, helping to create new pathways to increase creativity. And what they've found in studies to the brain is that it actually stimulates different parts of the brain. So it actually is creating new thought patterns within the mind.
Can you microdose with DMT if it's a 20-minute session? Can you microdose with DMT?
You can microdose with DMT. So the thing I love about microdosing is it's about building a relationship with that medicine.
Right.
Really bringing in the spirit of the medicine, really working with it. And when you think about it, you might have a really incredible journey taking what, I think it's Terence McKenna who says heroic dose, like a heroic dose of mushrooms. You might have an incredible experience, but what percentage of that are you actually bringing into your everyday life? If you bring the psychedelic into your everyday life or the plant medicine into your everyday life, it's more easy for you to really forge those mental pathways and really create new patterns in your life. And it's great for people with depression, great for people with PTSD, other things. I would say there are certain combinations. For instance, if someone has really severe anxiety, then it may not be a good idea to microdose on LSD, because since it's a stimulant, it's like drinking coffee. It might make you a little jittery.
Right. When it comes to Terence McKenna, now I've said this a lot. There are a couple of phases with Terence. One where I think he was extremely articulate and intelligent, and he made some incredible discoveries and advanced some theories. But then there was another part of Terence where I think he just liked to get really, really high. Right? I just think he enjoyed what the experience brought him to as well. What did you get out of Terence McKenna?
Yeah, I felt like the dimensions that he was exploring was more of like machine elves and things like that. It didn't really feel like there was a desire, a deeper prayer within it, like a deeper intention. It was more like, oh, let's see what comes up. And I think the key that we want to bring into all use with these medicines is to know that they are potentiators. And so you don't want to just go in and be like, oh yeah, I'm trying to find the, fifth dimension or whatever. You want to have specific intentions for the healing that you're looking for discovering your life's purpose, all of those things. And then it's going to take you to those places based on what you need. And the medicine is smarter in the sense that it will take you to sometimes places where you don't want to go, that you wouldn't normally look at. And, at first you might be like, oh, this is not fun. I don't want to be looking at that. But then later, as you integrate the experience, you're like, oh, wow, I needed to really accept that part of myself.
Now, you've done over 300 you've facilitated over 300 of these toad ceremonies. That's quite a large number. Typically, who is participating in these ceremonies? First time experience, or is it somebody that's returning for self? and continuing on the journey, typically what is going on there?
So a lot of the people that work with the 5-MeO-DMT specifically, they want something that's taking them deeper. And they've heard that this is, the most powerful entheogenic technology. Many people even quote the best experience of their entire life. And I heard that so many times even before I did it myself that I was like, wow, whatever this is, like, how can it be the best experience of your life and only last 20 minutes, or only last an hour total? So the people that come are typically people that, are kind of in the know. Like, for instance, Tim Ferriss wrote in his book, Tools of Titans, he actually interviewed Martine Polanco and Dr. Dan Engel of Crossroads Treatment Center. And the biohackers are like, this is the tool of biohacking mavens. So it's the people that are really going out there and researching, like, okay, what are the differences between a mushroom experience and what's the difference between, and also what word of mouth, like who these circles, like who are these people surrounding themselves with, and that they're kind of circulating within those groups, like people that are reading, Tim Ferriss's book or listening to Joe Rogan's podcast or things like that.
Right, which I have, by the way. I absolutely. Well, that was, and oddly enough, that was something that kind of kicked it into high gear for me, was listening to Joe Rogan talk about his experiences with this. And of course, I've interviewed Graham Hancock a few times and spoke to him about, the not only their experiences, but the thing is, when you hear it from them speaking out to the masses, right? We're talking about a single point firing out to millions of people, that their experiences not only were very similar, but changed them, right? Changed them as a person. There is a before and after with them. Is that what happens also when you do a ceremony?
Absolutely. The biggest gift, this is why I do the work I do, even though, I have to go to other countries to do it, is that, to see the look on the face of a 72-year-old man who's laughing like a child and has tears in his eye and saying, it's never too late, it's never too late. Or, just to see somebody who, is just in awe and just completely connected and says, I just cannot believe how big the heart of God is. Just some of the things that come out of people's mouths after ceremony and the look on their face. It's you just can't fake it. It's the most beautiful thing a human could ever experience. Now, if it's 20 minutes long, do some people do it a few times a day, or is it just once? So it's interesting. Dennis McKenna, Terrence's brother, has done some studies on tryptamines, including DMT, DMT-containing substances, and says that there is a exponential effect to doing 3 of them, like in a series. So that would include ayahuasca as well.
Right.
So you can do that, but some people have a really intense experience, and which is good. To where they're like, oh, I'm good. I think one's good enough for me. So it just depends. Some people, they want to do it every week, and some people want to do it, once a month or once every few months.
The ayahuasca, the typical ayahuasca jungle situation where it's a real ceremony, in one of the cities or towns down in Central or South America. How long is that session? I've heard different people say different things, like it's 8 hours, it's 24 hours, it's 2 days. What is going on there?
So if you're doing an ayahuasca, ceremony in the jungle, usually because people are flying all the way down, I'm seeing it becoming more and more popular for people to go and do like even up to 9 ceremonies, which I don't know how you could do that much, but like 9 days straight of journeying with the medicine. So you could do one night, you could do 2 nights, you could do 3. 3 is a very common number, although there are a lot of people that are doing 5-day journeys. And so if you were doing a 1-day journey, you would drink the medicine late in the evening, and you would feel the effects. Usually people fall asleep or tend to drift off after 8 hours, but some people can fully feel the effects of the medicine if they're sensitive up to 14 hours. And then, usually they take it easy during the day. And if they're planning on taking medicine again, which you don't usually go out to the jungle just to drink it one night, you usually do a few nights of medicine. So then you would, drink it again another night and, so on and so forth.
Very interesting. Now, when you, do you do a pre-interview? Do you make sure that everybody is on the same page and they know what they're doing? And have you ever told somebody, you know what, this may not be for you, at least not right now?
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many different things to take into consideration if the person has had a history of manic depression, if they're currently on pharmaceuticals. Most of these psychedelics interact with MAOI inhibitors, so that's pretty much all antidepressants. And the issue that you come across with antidepressants is, and this is something you have to be really careful of, and that's why I'm sharing it with you, is you need to have a professional wean you off of them if you're planning on going off of them. You can't just stop taking them cold turkey. Many people become suicidal from going off of the SSRIs. And then they think, okay, well, I'm going to do this because I need to go to this ayahuasca ceremony in the jungle. And then they just have an incredibly rough time. And I don't think it's healthy. So it's just something to take into consideration. I also look at, if they're smoking DMT, they have to have healthy lungs, number one, and they can't have, any asthma or, anything that would prevent them from inhaling the smoke. And then with the Iboga, it's a QT prolonger. And so it increases the length between the wave of the heartbeat. So it lengthens out the heartbeat. And so for somebody that already has a naturally prolonged QT, if it falls within a certain range, then they're not a good candidate for the medicine. So there's different medical screening processes. For instance, with someone who's doing Iboga, you would want to go get an EKG and then look at that and see if they fall within the high-risk group. And then also it's helpful to get a liver panel and just make sure that the liver's in a healthy state. But usually the liver is fine. Just, with someone who has had, maybe more in a high risk group, and pretty much anybody with high blood pressure, it's not really a great idea unless it's, just borderline high. And I actually had a woman who barely had high blood pressure who came to a retreat, and after the retreat, she said her blood pressure went back to normal. And I was surprised myself because I didn't realize it could have that effect on the blood pressure.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I'm tweeting this out now, Tricia. I need to, this is a live radio broadcast. French media is now reporting that Prince Philip has died at the age of 95. I am tweeting this out now. Breaking news. French media reporting that Prince Philip has died, and it's this is part of live. It's live radio. We are now. This is coming straight from. I'm putting this out now. Age 95, and this is going to start to break now throughout this show tonight. But the royal family has been pulled to Buckingham Palace. And it looks like they are meeting now. Wow. Yeah, pretty wild. 95 years old, though. There you go. Okay, I've tweeted that out. And pretty wild. Hey, you know what's strange during this show, Tricia, because it's a long broadcast, and we broadcast 4 nights a week. and the other broadcasts that I do on other networks too as well, that breaking news always happens on this show. It's just a bizarre thing, and here we are doing this. We'll come back and we're going to take live phone calls here in a minute. Everybody, I will open up the phone lines so everybody can call in with your questions for Tricia, 323-825-5045. But with that, the preparations for not only the Queen but for Prince Philip, they have to be ready, right, at a moment's notice at their age, right? The press releases are already done, right? All they are going to do is launch this, because it could happen, at any minute of any day for them to get so far up there in years. But there you go. French media is now reporting that Prince Philip has passed at the age of 95. Never made it to king. He never made it that far. I'm not making light of it. He's 95 years old. It's just it was going to happen any day now. So, okay. Back to, and we're going to open up the phone lines, 323-825-5045. Everybody get ready for that and get your questions going. I want to move on to another definition. Shaman. Can any how do you even select a shaman? How do you trust him? And who is anointing a shaman? How do you get to be a shaman?
It's so interesting that you say that, because I feel like there's a lot of negative feelings in the psychedelic community around the words shaman or facilitator. And the true thing is, a real shaman doesn't call himself a shaman. It's useful for distinction of the work that they're doing, meaning a more ceremonial context. Sometimes I use the word shaman because it helps to distinct that person is working in a more ceremonial context versus having to overly explain something. But a real shaman is someone who chooses this as a life path. And people that have worked in the space of healing, maybe not with psychedelic medicines, but in general for, typically I would say, 10 years is a really good number as far as experience. Think of it like, who would you want to be your doctor? Who would you want to be your psychologist? You're going to want someone who has put in the hours. And in order to be a psychologist, you have to have a certain amount of board hours. And I see the difference in, there are certain facilitators that haven't really gotten those hours in, and you can see in the way that they facilitate ceremony. And, just because when you're on the path, you're also doing work on yourself. You're dissolving your own ego, and everyone's got one. I'm sorry. It just shows up in different ways in different people. I have an ego. Everyone has an ego. And so the more that we do the work, it's all about purification. Every ceremony that I sit in, I'm receiving healing. I'm getting purified. I'm not doing any of the work. It is all the spirit world and the medicine. I'm just there holding space and creating the container and making sure the person feels safe.
Let's take a break right here. We've got breaking news going on. Phone lines are open. If you're on hold, stay right there. You'll be up next. On Fade to Black, our guest tonight, Tricia Eastman. We are talking biohacking. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation. And Angioprim is the result, a safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
My name's Doug Salamone, and I have a new show for you that will blow your mind. So what kind of show is it? It's a podcast, and it's called In the News. And you can find us at inthenewspodcast.com. We talk about what's new, what's crazy, what's out of this world, and we'll dissect those thoughts, ideas, and events right here on the show. And hear all the news you may have missed or really don't give a crap about, but want to hear anyways. So come on over and meet me at inthenewspodcast.com. That's inthenewspodcast.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Teppy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. If you're watching on the bunker cam, you saw me rush in here, sit down, flip the microphone around, and just go live. That's how we do it. I was just talking to Rita in the hallway and about Prince Philip. I said, I can't confirm this story, but it's out there. Prince Philip passing away at the age of 95. And Rita goes, dude, he's 95. What's the big deal? She's right. There you go. Okay, Tricia, we've got some phone calls lined up here. Let's go ahead and head to the phones. Very interesting conversation tonight, and I want to thank you in advance. Just enlightening, and I can't say any more than that. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Tricia. Oh, lost that call right there. Okay. All right, and I'll wait to see if that call comes.
This is Mark. Please leave me a message, and I'll return your call. Thank you.
That's bizarre. Okay, that's who was on hold. That was weird. All right. The connections. Okay. All right. Everybody else stay on hold. I'm going to give this caller one more chance.
For options, press 4.
Yeah. Weird. Okay. All right. That's weird. That calls in some kind of loop. All right. The connections. Oh man. Okay. Hold on for a second here. I've got a problem with my phone system. Okay. Just hang on. I got to fix this. Stay with me, Tricia. Okay. I cannot get rid of this call. It's locking up my phone system.
You can.
Yeah, it's locking up my phone system. Interesting. Okay.
Let me try it like that. Yeah, it's still there. Oh, no, not now. Okay, I am going to do this, and that got rid of it. Okay, I'm just rebooting my software. That's all I can do.
Did we crash the Matrix again?
Yeah. And boom, done. Okay. The similarities about what is going on here with the spirits on the other side, I often hear talk about serpents, right? Cheetahs, birds. But everybody is seeing this. Are gods being represented that way, or leaders on the other side? Because they always reference this queen, and I may be using the wrong terminology here, but they're seeing something superior that is guiding them and speaking with them. And if it's consistent, are they all seeing the same thing?
It's interesting that you bring that up. In the ayahuasca tradition, they use these animal totems as a representation of the four directions, which are like the different directions. For instance, the hummingbird is a representation of the spirit. The kundalini is the snake is a representation of the kundalini energy, which is the south. And then in the Lakota Sioux tradition, the eagle is the north, and the bear is the west, and the jaguar is also a representation in the ayahuasca tradition of the west, and that's a representation of the healer. So there's definitely some symbolism within the animal totems and how they represent the spirit world and the transition that you're going through within the medicine wheel is what they would call it in the native tradition, like the Native American traditions. And I should say First Nations is a more politically correct word.
Sure.
And as far as the other deities, there is a commonality, and I've even seen this in the work that I do, where people will sense certain energies that they may refer to as like Christ conscious or Mother Mary, and other forms of deities, even like Indian deities such as Kali or Ganesh, in these ceremonies. And I feel like these are different gatekeepers to the dimensions. And so their energies are personified in a way that has a commonality. And they can look different, but the essence of them is picked up as, like for instance with Ganesh, it's this elephant. So they might see an elephant in the journey. There's a book that's really incredible about this woman named Anastasia, and she grew up in the forests of Siberia, and she was just completely awake, had full awareness of everything. It's a true story, and there was a whole series of books written about her, and she'd never read a Bible, she had never read a book in her entire life, and she knew about all of these deities.
I'm going to try these phones one more time here. Let's see what happens. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. You're live. Oh, man. You're live on Fade to Black. Okay, I don't know. My phones are freaking out right now. I don't know what to do about it. And that's it. I'll try it one more time. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. And
hey, Jenny.
There you go.
Mark from Salida, Mexico.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you, Jimmy?
I'm doing good. Say hi to Tricia. What's your question?
Hi, Tricia. Thank you so much
for
your
Mark.
Presentation tonight. It was awesome. Tricia, how do we go about procuring these plant substances? I'm living in Mexico, and people have told me to go on the dark web, and it's not like when I was in college I would just pretty much take anything that anybody had, but it's different these days. I want to make sure that I have the right dose, and
pure products, and how do I do this?
Okay, well, let me say this really quick, Mark, and I appreciate that's the question that everybody has, and I certainly have it myself, but I don't want to venture into a legal issue, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't want to have the DEA. I don't want the DEA knocking on my door going, "Dude, what are you doing?" So,
well, maybe is there some place you could direct me to get that knowledge, or is there a way to answer the question without getting Jimmy arrested?
Yeah, Tricia, is there a way you know what?
Yeah,
why don't you do this off of the air? How about that, Mark? Why don't you just send Tricia an email or contact her, and maybe that will clear things up. Am I legally in the clear there, Tricia?
Yeah, I think you're fine. And I was just going to say, the more that you try to seek something, if you're getting a calling for it, the medicines are really good at finding you.
Right.
And just trusting
no doubt
the right timing.
No doubt.
And so getting involved in the communities, like there's meetup groups around like Psychonaut or around, psychedelic society and different things like that. And it's not really for the purpose of procuring substances, but once you get connected to those people in the community, there are certain things that would happen in the context of a friendship relationship where people might share information with you.
Yeah, there you go. That was eloquently put. Because... Well, see, Mark, look, there's a reason why you're listening to the show tonight, right? Right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And did you have another question for Tricia?
No, I don't think so. I did these substances when I was in college. I was 19. And we talked about it a little bit, I think, last week or the week before, Jimmy, where it was a combination of reading Robert Heinlein and using psychedelics that completely shifted.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Right.
Completely shifted my life. And I'm 69 years old now, and I'm an artist, and I'm really interested in, bringing my art to another level with the use of DMT. That's what I'm interested in.
Okay. All right. I could see that. 69. Yeah. You don't sound 69. You sound 39.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, Mark, thank you for the phone call, my friend. And good luck on your journey.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. The phone system's working. That's called a hard reboot. Thank goodness. All right, 323-825-5045. 323-825-5045. Have you, when you, staying on this same line of questioning here, when you hear about other people's experiences about the different entities or spirits or whoever that they are meeting, do you step back and go, I had this, I met her. Yes, I met her. And or him. What does that tell you when that happens?
Well, I think it just gives a pretty strong representation that there is a cosmology, that there is a, kind of a map to the entire cosmos. And the more that we're all tracking these mystical experiences that we're having, which people really haven't been publicly tracking,
right,
the more that we're able to go back to and visit and explore and learn about these different dimensions.
The ancient civilizations around the world, and you can go with ancient Egypt, or we can look at Central and South America. You can look at Asia. They were connected. They were connected in a lot of different ways. Do you think that guidance and knowledge and technology and other things that seem to advance society, that came at us so quickly with different civilizations, do you think that they got this information from traveling to an interdimensional world where they came back and were enlightened? And that goes with things like math, maybe even the wheel. geometry, political sides of things, advancing, maturing as a civilization. Do you think that some of this knowledge came from there?
Absolutely. I mean, the information that I got was that there are many technologies for purification, including psychedelics, but there's other forms of rituals, such as there's the Kaya Kalpa ritual, which is what Ayurvedic stemmed from. And these purification rituals allow for you to, connect to these different dimensions. And one of the things we were going to talk about earlier, which we didn't actually talk about, was, I had a very powerful experience where I learned that, I was basically the entire universe, experiencing myself as Tricia. And as I expanded past my body, I was able to basically create these connections. And I would say, like, within astrology, when we talk about the scale of consciousness, that's about where the ego is, the solar system. And that's, there is energies that guide us within that. But once you start to go past that, you can get into these, like, really profound ashrams, I call them, of consciousness, where you can literally download information. And I was told by the medicines that that's how Einstein did it. Like, he was connecting, and I don't know if he was doing it through medicines, but I know there's people like Steve Jobs who used LSD to get a lot of insights for the work that he did, a lot of innovation.
Right. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Tricia. Who's calling?
Hi, Jimmy. This is Mr. Anonymous tonight. Hi, Tricia.
Hi, Mr. Anonymous.
Hi, Mr. Anonymous.
Jimmy, I love your show. It's terrific.
Thank you.
Tricia, I got a question. How could you possibly know all this information? You sound like you're maybe 20.
So I am 36. I'm going to be 37 this year, so I already feel like I'm 37. But really, all the information I've received is through the combination of studying it through, different modalities, and at the same time confirming all of the things, getting the knowing within myself through these journeys, through working with these ancestral technologies and psychedelics.
Yeah, Mr. Anonymous, I totally 100% agree with you, right? But it's pretty fantastical, isn't it, to get the information, and it's credible, and you can't get away from Tricia's tone, right? Because I hear you, I hear exactly what you're saying, but yeah, it's a pretty fascinating thing to get all of this from one source so quickly.
When I first started listening, I said, she sounds like she's a kid. She couldn't possibly know all of this. The more I listened, there's connections being made.
Right.
In 1976, I had window paint. And I think it was like a quarter microgram is what they called it at the time. Very, very enlightening experience. I mean, it was like a whole new universe opened up to me. And one of the questions I had to myself before I went to sleep that night was, am I going to wake up the same way?
Right.
And over the years, I've had some of the psilocybins from the mushrooms, and they're very good for meditation. And I always meditated on the super consciousness, and that was it. It was just the God consciousness. I've been taught how to do UBIs, for astral projection. I gave that up because it scared the crap out of me once, and I was alone. And I don't recommend anybody doing it alone. You do need a guide. And the pineal gland, when you mentioned the pineal gland and the calcification that's going on because of all of the crap that they're putting in our water supply, the fluorides and everything else, I made a connection to when I was a child, because I had the third eye so sensitive that I could walk around the house at nighttime with my eyes closed. I could tell a wall was 4 feet in front of me.
Wow.
And, you know, there's just something that kids have innate. The body hasn't been ruined yet. The senses are still there. They see things that other people can't see. They have secret friends that other people tell them aren't real. You know, they're like cats. I have 8 cats here at home, and these cats look right through the walls out onto the street where people are walking by like the wall isn't even there. You know, so they've got some connections. But, hey, it's a terrific show. I want to let somebody else have a chance to talk. I really enjoy it. And, Jimmy, you do a terrific job. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you so much, Anonymous. We will meet someday. Thank you, my friend.
We will.
Okay, you got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll know it's him with a voice like that, right? I just want to clarify, I've gotten a couple of emails in and a couple of posts that the prince is alive and is in New Zealand. He just did some kind of there's that, but then we have a couple of other posts in from, you know, the Daily Mail and News.com Australia, and ABC News and others that are all reporting his death. So I don't know what's going on with Philip. So there you go. Could be just one big massive hoax, but we don't know. We just don't know. But I want to always say here that when breaking news like that comes and it's fluid, then we will stay on top of it and we will vet it. And we're trying to get to the bottom of it right now with everybody. And now, also with everybody out there on Twitter, what have you heard? Is there anything else out there about Prince Philip? Because tomorrow, and as this show goes out, the archives of this show want to actually be accurate when we do. Okay, now what is I asked you about this earlier. But for everybody out there, they're going to have questions, and you're going to get flooded. Is it Facebook? Is that the best way? And also, there's a couple of old Twitter accounts. Are these your Twitter accounts that are out there, or are they not really you?
I probably have an old Twitter account that I don't use anymore, so it's inactive if I do have one.
It says Venice Beach. Is that you?
Oh. It might be. I'm not sure, but I don't use it. I don't use Twitter anymore.
Okay.
I don't think that's me. It's possible. But as far as getting a hold of me, either you can go on the psychedelicjourneys.com and you can just fill out a submission form and it goes right to my email, and that's probably the easiest way. If for some reason you have trouble doing that, you can go on my Facebook page. You're welcome to follow me. I post a lot of really cool stuff and talk about different events where I'm speaking, or just, you know, interesting things that are happening in the psychedelic community if you want to stay abreast. And you can just follow me on that as well.
Now, I did want to ask you this, and this is a very, very... it's a question that has to be asked. How do you know what is real DMT? How do you know what is not? Can you look at it and tell? Ayahuasca, that's a whole other thing, and you know that's a different situation. But if somebody out there is, you know, I mean, how do you know? It could be anything. I mean, how do you know? Can you taste it? Is there? How do you know? How do you know if it's real?
Well, the first thing I want to say is DMT is not a very good experience to do on your own without a sitter, without someone who's trained. And there are training programs on how to be a sitter that are free. One of them is called the Zendo Project. It's a psychedelic first aid program, and they teach you how to deal with pretty much any psychedelic situation that could come up, and they provide psychedelic first aid at festivals like Burning Man.
Right,
where,
right.
You know, So I do want to say that the best thing to do is to, get that kind of training if you're planning on like what they call holding space or babysitting for someone else. And as far as like, can you tell? I'm not an expert on the NN-DMT. I work with, primarily the medicine of the toad, the 5-MeO-DMT, and it has a very distinctive look, and it's like kind of like crystallized, dried up toad slobber. I guess you could say it's like you couldn't fake it. It's pretty distinctive. So
because I did this, I'm going to tell you right now. I had I went out and started searching for it, and I just wanted to see what the world was like, and it just didn't feel quite right to me about what was out there, and trying to go into the deep web and try to take a peek around to see what, and I just backed off. Not that it just didn't feel right. I think that you have the best advice. You need to have a sitter. You need to have somebody that's there, and that person is probably representing something that is real and authentic, the experience. Right? And that's where I just, put the car in reverse a little bit and backed up and went, okay, this is a world that you just don't walk into alone and think that you're just going to go and do this correctly. You need to have somebody guiding you.
Yeah, it's very important. It's number one, you're traveling into another dimension, and you just want to make sure that you are opening and closing those doorways properly within yourself. If it does bring up trauma or fear or other things, that energy can get stuck. And if you don't have someone there that can help you move through that, then it could end up, putting you out for a little while in terms of, feeling a bit off.
Can you tell when you meet somebody for the first time if they have had these experiences in their past? Can you tell? Can you look into their eyes?
I mean, I think that there's definitely a deeper connection that I experience with people that are on this path. I feel like when you're on this path, I believe we have these architectures, and, they talk about how monkeys and humans have mirror neurons, and that's how we have empathy. Well, I also believe that we have that same encoding to complete certain archetypal lessons, and so we attract certain people into our field. So I feel like when you start doing this work, there's I always am like, oh, he's on the Toad network, or that person's on the Iboga network. And you can tell, like, the medicine, just brings the community together and draws those people into your field.
Thank you so much, Tricia. What an amazing conversation tonight. Just answered so many questions. And, for this audience and for myself, we've heard so much about this, but, you really need to go to the right person to ask these questions where the answers are going to be honest and accurate, so we know that we can move forward, whatever our life path is, but that we have true knowledge. And I want to thank you for that tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be on your show, and just so blown away at how high vibe even all of your advertisements are. I love it. Thank you for everything that you're doing.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tricia. And we will be seeing each other very soon. And more on that later.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Tricia. Have a great rest of your evening.
You too. Good night.
Good
Bye-bye.
night. Tricia Eastman, everybody. Now, just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on our link, Psychedelic Journeys. It's right there, psychedelicjourneys.com, and go and get your education on. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll keep the phone lines open, 323-825-5045. I'll be right back.
Here, and you You are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. GetTheTea.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. GetTheTea.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
Levels of Power. Fact or fiction? Author Mike Gilmore brings political thrillers aligned with the latest news stories direct from our nation's capital. Immigration and border security. High tension in Southeast Asia. A Supreme Court nomination. Follow Senator Randy Fisher through the halls of power as he confronts the issues that affect our everyday lives. Fast-paced political thrillers. Levels of Power. Discover more at michaelgilmore1.com or amazon.com. Get hooked today.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to jimmychurchradio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRAradio.com.
This is KJCR at jimmychurchradio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. That was an amazing conversation. That's all I can say. Thank you, Tricia. Makes you think, doesn't it? It just makes you think. It just makes you think. Makes you wonder. For me, wow, at my age, what do you do? What do you do when you have questions? What do you do? Well, maybe you just need to go and find out and get those answers. There's something going on out there with it. And I remember last year we were at Contact in the Desert, and I introduced Graham Hancock. And Rita and I sat down. We were in the front row, and we sat down, and he started his conversation about this. And it was amazing. You could hear a pin drop in that room, by the way. And that's what's going on. This is the conversation today. DMT, ayahuasca, Iboga, what is going on? Now, I didn't know, although I had read this, but it kind of sunk in a little bit with Tricia. Just very, very, very limited sources for Iboga and Gabon and Africa. That's it. You know, that's a difficult road to go down if you're going to choose that path. But anyway, very, very enlightening conversation tonight. Thank you so much, Tricia. Again, her website is psychedelicjourneys.com. And I'm going to leave the phone lines open, 323-825-5045. And I'm going to get to some of the news that you know absolutely nothing about. Check this out. A widely reported email purporting to be a request. Now, everybody listen to this. A widely reported email purporting to request to share a Google Docs document is actually a well-disguised phishing attack. It directs the user to a lookalike site and grants the site access to the target's Google credentials. If the victim clicks on the prompt to give the site permission to use Google credentials, the phish then harvests all of the contacts in the victim's Gmail address book and adds them to its list of targets. The phish appears to have been initially targeted at a number of reporters and journalists, but it quickly spread widely across the internet. Some of the sites associated with the attack appear to have now been shut down. The email uses a technique that a Trend Micro report linked last week to Pawn Storm, an ongoing espionage campaign frequently attributed to the Russian intelligence operations. The attack uses the OAuth authentication interface, which is also used by many web services to allow users to log in without using a password. By abusing that, the attack is able to present a legitimate Google dialog box requesting authorization. However, the authentication also asks permission for access to view and manage your email and view and manage the files in your Google Drive. The fake application used in the Pawn Storm phish, which posed as a Google security alert, by the way, was named Google Defender. Today's phish asked the target to grant access to Google Docs, a fake application using the name of Google's service. If the target grants permission, the malicious site will immediately harvest contacts from the target's email and send copies of the original message to them. You got to be careful. I'm going to say this. I haven't had a real virus attack in a long time. And there's one reason why. I don't click on anything. I don't do it. I've got a good spam system here that filters everything that for everybody that works with us here. But I just don't click on anything. I don't click. I don't. I will respond to emails from people that I know that send me links, and I literally tell them I do not click on links. I don't do it. You can send me the description of something, and I'll go out there and search for it and go that way. But if there is a link to click on in an email, I absolutely click on nothing. Nothing. No remote message, nothing. I don't activate anything, and I run clean. You know, I don't know what because these phishing scams and malware and so forth. The reason why they're out there is because people actually do click on this stuff. That's exactly how Podesta went down. Think about this. Podesta went down. His staff, they actually, and it went to about 150 of the Democratic Party staffers. They all got the same email and looked like an official Google situation. And looking for, I cannot believe that supposedly intelligent people in D.C. were clicking on this and throwing their passwords around. I don't care how authentic it looks. You know, I just don't do it. I will not click on anything. And that's how I run. Nothing gets clicked on in my email. When I hear about stuff like this, and it just makes me wonder that the reason why they're successful is because people actually click. I never do. I will not click on anything. So send me a link. Anybody, send me a link. It ain't gonna happen. Same here. Got their channel on favorites. Okay. Anyway, I'm just reading Twitter as I read this to you. Here we go. Biotech giant Monsanto is being accused of hiring, through third parties, an army of internet trolls. For what? To counter negative comments about Monsanto, while citing positive, ghost-written, pseudo-scientific reports which downplay the potential risk of their products. Yeah, I love it when I have to say this. Some things you just can't make up. The documents emerged during pre-trials on 50 lawsuits against Monsanto, which were pending in U.S. District Court in San Francisco. The plaintiffs allege that exposure to the biotech giant's flagship product, Roundup, caused them or their relatives to develop a non-Hodgkin lymphoma, while Monsanto concealed the potential risks. Well, in March, a judge ruled, despite Monsanto's objections, that the documents obtained by the plaintiffs could be released. The court papers are being gathered at a website of food safety whistleblower organization U.S. Right to Know. The plaintiffs alleged that Monsanto targeted all online materials and even social media comments that indicate potential dangers of its products. Now, this is according to a document released late in April, last month. The accusations are backed up by a batch of emails used in court as evidence, which were written by some of Monsanto's own executives, instructing the staff, are you ready, to ghostwrite articles and then have some independent scientists just sign their names under the study, I'm using air quotes for all of this, in order to reduce costs. Can you believe it? The evil Monsanto. Roundup. I was watching a commercial the other day for Roundup that leaves your grass growing but kills the weeds, right? It's like, oh, man. I can't imagine. This is what's funny to me. I don't think that anybody that listens to this program ever uses Roundup, right? We understand. We know what Roundup is, and we know what Monsanto is about. But walk into your home improvement store, whatever it is, man, walk into any one of them and look at Roundup stacked up to the ceiling, pallets full of it. And that stuff rolls out. People don't know, and they don't care, and they're spraying Roundup all over their house, all over their lawn, everywhere, on the sidewalks, in the Roundup everywhere. Think about that. I don't know if their sales have gone down with all of the warnings. Certain countries now have blocked it. But doesn't that feel funny to you? Who in their right mind would purchase Roundup? The answer is nobody. And I told before when Rita and I first bought our house, I did what everybody does. You know, it was a number of years ago now, going on. It's going to be almost 10. But I went in and bought Roundup. I never used it, and it is sitting in my garage right now. Because right after I purchased it, and there were some I was just doing what homeowners do. And I saw this documentary on Roundup, and I saw it actually on TV, and it flipped me out. I don't want to go into those details, but I never used it. It's sitting in my garage. Who would use Roundup today? But it is still being sold by the pallet full at the home improvement store near you. All right. Where am I at? Where am I at? Oh, yeah. So I mentioned earlier that Iran had attempted to launch a cruise missile from a submarine in the Strait of Hormuz, and they did this yesterday, but the test failed. Now, it was an Iranian Yano-class midget submarine that conducted the missile launch. North Korea and Iran are the only two countries in the world that operate this type of submarine. Now, I want somebody in Twitter right now, one of the Fadernauts, post a picture of the Yano, Y-O-N-O class midget submarine. It is trippy. I don't know how many dudes fit on this submarine, how many sailors would fit, but it's got to be, I don't know, half a dozen, maybe 2 or 3. It's small. But how could you fit a cruise missile? Hazardous waste depot. I know, right? Yeah, that's one of the reasons why it's still sitting in my garage. I don't know how to dispose of the Roundup. I'm not going to put it in the trash can. I'm not going to allow the garbage guy to pick it up and throw it in the dump. So I'm kind of stuck there, right? What do I do with the Roundup? Does anybody know what to do with and I've got the 2.5 gallon thing with the spray nozzle and the hose connected to it with the pump, right? I don't know. I don't know what to do with the Roundup. Somebody give me some advice there. But yeah, the Yano class submarine. Look at this little thing. How can you fit a cruise missile on this? Or was it a mini cruise missile? I don't know, but the launch didn't work. All right. And I had also mentioned earlier, you can read stats about North Korea. North Korea is about the size of your local Kmart. There it is. Thank you so much, Mark. Look at that submarine. Look at this thing. Okay, there's 4 dudes there. Look how tiny that is. Now, where does a cruise missile go on this guy? Somebody help me out here. I have no clue. That gets a retweet. Thank you so much for that, Mark. That's a Yano-class submarine right there. And so when you hear about North Korea with this massive submarine force, right, man, they've got 70 submarines. They got 70 of these, and they look like toys. You know what? I'd buy one of those. You could cruise around for a while in that and have some fun, right? Yeah, pretty cool. Can't be expensive. What do you think a Yano-class submarine runs? $100,000? I don't know. Here's another one here. Look at that. That's a killer picture right there. Thank you, Jason. Look at that. Yano-class submarine. All right. Let me move on here. An American company that, okay, stay with me now. I want you to get enraged. Okay? All right. Is that it? Okay, so so it can hold a couple of torpedoes? IS-120 midget submarine. Is that it? Okay. All right. Moving on. An American company that was paid nearly $700 million to secure an Air Force base in Iraq for F-16 fighter jets turned a blind eye to alcohol smuggling, theft, security violations, and allegations of sex trafficking. And that company then fired the investigators who uncovered the wrongdoing. Documents and interviews with 2 former internal investigators and a half dozen former or current Sallyport Global staff described schemes at an Iraq's Balad Air Base that were major contract violations at best and have proven, completely illegal. The fired investigators, Robert Cole and Christy King, said they uncovered evidence that Sallyport employees were involved in human trafficking for prostitution. The staff on base routinely flew in smuggled alcohol in such high volumes that a plane once almost crashed and seesawed on the tarmac under the weight. Now, a rogue militia, listen to this, a rogue militia stole enormous generators using flatbed trucks and a 60-foot crane driving right past Sallyport security guards. Nobody did a thing. Now, what happened was this. The rogue militia drove on to the Air Force Base with 3 flatbed trucks, went up with a 60-foot crane, picked up these generators, placed 2 of them on each of the flatbeds. With the 60-foot crane, you have to have professionals involved with this operation. Loaded them up onto the flatbeds, drove them straight off of the base, and nobody did anything. Apparently, the guards at the base, the Sallyport employees, were so drunk that some were passed out, and they didn't care that this rogue militia had drove onto the base and taken it over and drove off with these generators. Now, the base itself was occupied by us. ISIS moved into the country. We abandoned the base. We took off running. This is no joke. Now that ISIS has been moved up and out of Iraq, now they want to get the base operational again. The trouble stretches to headquarters in Reston, Virginia, and this is according to the investigators and other ex-employees. They say that much of what they uncovered was not even revealed to the United States government, which was footing the $686 million contracting bill. And that was until early this year, after an auditor started to ask questions. And then the investigators were fired abruptly this past March 12th, just 2 months ago, and immediately flown out of Iraq. They say that they had been looking into timesheet fraud allegations and were set to interview company managers whom they considered suspects. This is not only is this an outrage. One of the stories that was reported that one of the F-16s were brought in, like 36 or 39 planes, so they're parked there. There was a Sallyport driver in a truck, drunk, driving across the tarmac at night, didn't see the F-16, locked up his brakes, and there's 45-foot skid marks on the tarmac going all the way up to the side of this F-16. Dude almost crashed into the F-16 because he was drunk. How crazy is this? A $700 million contract. Unbelievable. The entire story is crazy, and it's not going to end here on this show. Now, have you ever been to Washington, D.C.? Have you ever been to the National Mall? I have. I've been there a few times. And you get a map when you go there. You get a map of the mall, and you look, and there is a ring of museums there. There's a few Smithsonians. You have the Air and Space. You have the Library of Congress. And just art and just museum after museum after museum. Well, that vast grove of museums stretching across the fringes of the National Mall is about to get a brand new addition, but it's a bit different. It is the Museum of the Bible. Just 3 blocks south of the Capitol. It's a privately funded museum, and it's going to open this November. Now sit down and listen to me, kids. The $500 million 8-story museum is financed entirely by private funds. The museum's 5 central exhibit floors will house, check this, 40,000 biblical and religious artifacts, including portions of the Dead Sea Scrolls, Bibles once belonging to Babe Ruth and Elvis Presley, and of course the very special Lunar Bible, the first Bible to travel to space. Now it only gets better. The first exhibit to arrive at the museum is a 3,200-pound full-scale replica of the original Liberty Bell, gifted to the museum by Dr. Peter Lilbach, founder of the Providence Forum. Because of its size, the replica had to be lowered into the building, which is still undergoing construction. Now, Think about that, right? Let's talk about the Great Pyramid for a second. I won't. But it is Steve Green who I want to talk about, the museum's founder and, of course, the president of Hobby Lobby. That's right. That's who's building this museum. And his father, David, who have contributed the bulk of the items. Why? Over the last 5 years, the Green collection of Bible and religious artifacts has grown into the world's largest private collection of biblical texts and artifacts. Hobby Lobby, a $500 million 8-story museum 3 blocks from the Capitol. I just can't believe it. On the mall, right there. So there you go. Now, I talked about this last week, and so before I let you go, I just got to share this with you because it is tasty. It doesn't get any tastier than this, my friends. Before Mexican drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman was captured last year and extradited to the United States this past January, as reported last week on this program, he was believed to have accumulated a fortune in drug profits, and U.S. authorities claim his 30-year criminal career garnered around $14 billion in cash. Now, he was, I think Guzman at one point, I could be wrong here. This is my memory. I think Guzman was on the Forbes 400 richest people in the world. I think he made the list, right? Now, and he was untouchable. The cartel was untouchable. He had plantations and ranches, and he had the zoo, and he had llamas in the front yard. Remember all of those stories? White tigers and all of this action, all of this money. And then last week, Ted Cruz came out and said he wanted his money to build the wall, right? Well, it has come out today that Mexican Attorney General Raul Cervantes says, and I'm quoting here, as of today, United States authorities have not found even $1 of El Chapo's assets. Did you hear what I just said? Not $1. Mexican authorities said that they have only found minor assets of the notorious drug kingpin. How quick they fall, right? The biggest drug cartel in the world, everything coming across the border, just truckloads and truckloads of cash and all of this money and expense and land and property and now none of it is there. Somebody explain to me the reality of this. Where is the money? Where is the money? Somewhere, whether it's part of it's here in the United States, part of it is in Mexico, but somewhere there are pallets of $100 bills, pallets of unspent money, pallets of unlaundered money. That cash is somewhere, and they haven't found one single dollar. Who do you believe? Who do you actually believe here? This is Fade to Black. This concludes another episode. I want to thank the one and only Tricia Eastman. What a conversation tonight. And I say it every night. What a conversation. But you know what? That was the show that you asked for. You got it. It was amazing. Thank you, Tricia Eastman. Her website is... Oh, wait. I'm sorry. I'm clicking on buttons. Are you watching me in... You're watching me on the bunker cam? Clicking buttons. Her website is psychedelicjourneys.com. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Kamarian. Shows produced by LJ Paul, Marty Kovar, LJ3. Renee, Jonas, thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Viteau, and Mark D. Kovar. Faded by Dale. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Until tomorrow night, Fader Night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live. I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Tepe.